Hello there, my name is Phoenix1987 and we are here today to play some Loop Hero. It's a roguelike game based around the idea of running laps of a sort of pre-made circuit. It's got auto battler and roguelike elements, so let's get into the game and yeah, let's get started. The stars in the sky are going out one by one, but no one notices it, no one can stop it. I'm racing to the last point where there is still hope. I need to make it before it is too late. Sounds of agony will quickly fade. The world will be destroyed, even the memory of it will be gone. And even if there is absolutely no chance of bringing it back, there will always be someone who is willing to do the impossible. In a place without space, without time, without memories. That's us, by the way. Where am I? I can't see anything except this path. My head is killing me. I remember only a skeleton with a staff in the sky. This darkness was coming from him. Did he destroy everything around here? Just standing here won't do me any good, I guess. Okay, so to change between adventure, which is travelling through the map, and planning stop modes, press the switch, right click, or hit space. Okay. I hope I'll be able to find some shelter before nightfall, if such a thing as night still even exists without a sky, of course. Okay, let's, I'm not entirely sure where my cam's going to sit for this. That's going to be in the way of the text. Let's try up here for now. Pay attention to the day progress bar at the top of the screen. New enemies usually appear at the end of the day. Continue your journey by changing the game mode with space right click. A living ball of slime, quite a nuisance. They digest anything they can. Hey, I remembered this creature. Maybe I just need to freshen up my memory and everything will go back to normal. Travelling and fighting, most of their actions are done automatically. The player can't affect them directly. Okay, so this will be our first auto battle. Okay. It's hard to fight with your bare hands. I think there's a weapon in the remains of this thing that's not fully digested. You have an inventory and an item slot, you know what to do. Of course we do. I think I remember that there was a grove nearby. Are these even my memories? Or do they belong to that slime? Okay, you can use cards that are left after defeating enemies to add various new objects to the map, and that's what planning mode is for. Drag the card to a suitable spot to remember the land. Okay, so Wasteland, absolutely nothing here well except slime, but it has a 5% chance of spawning a slime once a day, which is, you know, sort of the end of that bar. And then the Grove spawns a rat wolf every 2 days, and the wolf can move to an adjacent tile. Okay, so it can spawn there and then move to the 2 tiles either side of it, I assume. Okay, so let's carry on with the journey. So it looks like the cards are there just to change what spawns on the different spaces. Okay, so we've got Rat Wolf spawned at the Grove. So it looks like this is a little bit more difficult of a battle. Forest Rat Wolf. I was right. Some emotional stress, a few colourful images and a bit of adrenaline, and everything will be forgotten like a bad dream. Or remembered as a bad. Damn. It's good that nobody's listening. Okay. You can get new items and cards during battle, as you probably already noticed. Some items will have unique abilities, as do most of the cards. By hovering over an item or card, you can inspect its properties. Okay, so forests. A thick forest, nobody knows who or what could be lurking inside. It makes you a bit nervous, but gives 1% hero attack speed. So I believe most of these cards give global buffs. And rocks. Its magnificent appearance gives you strength, plus 2 HP and plus 2 HP more for every adjacent rock or mountain. So one of the ongoing themes throughout the game is that when you place certain items next to one another, you can get synergy bonuses, and also there's some bonuses that, you know, sort of just by having the same thing next to one another you can get them. So what we're going to do is pop these down. You can also see here that the colour behind the weapon denotes the rarity of the weapon, and you can also see here that this has got the exact same attack as the axe on the scimitar, but it also gives us a 4% attack speed buff, so we'll replace that. Something to notice as well is that while you are entering the item, you are not swapping it. As soon as you put that item in there, it deletes the other item from existence by the looks of it. So that's something to remember when you receive an item. You've got to be careful to make sure that you're not intending to swap weapons out, because they will disappear. Okay, so we're going to pop down a forest over here, and also a rock next to it. Great, so there was a mountain over there, and here is a forest. The world is just like new. The branches and stones in my backpack are a sure sign of that. Some of your actions will yield resources that you will need later on, but not right now. So we can see those there. But that shouldn't stop you from looking at them right now. Continue your journey by changing the game mode with space right click or mode switch. Close that backpack up for now. Okay, so we can see here that the camp itself heals 20% of HP upon entering. So because that's a percentage based boost, obviously things like this that increase your HP are going to be very beneficial. We'll just move this down slightly, as I think that was being blocked. Yeah, so you can see there, those are the resources we've collected. So okay, so let's carry on. I think it's time to get some rest. The game itself is a journey on a looped path. Only you will decide when it's time for your hero to return to the camp, either you or the fangs and claws of your enemies, of course. You can retreat almost any time, but a special animation will let you know when it's safer to do so. Retreat to the camp by pressing the button. It's cold and dark here. A small fire can solve both these problems. This is a nice place to set up camp. This is where all the resources you've gathered will come in handy. Who would have thought? You have just enough wood and stones to make a campfire. What a nice coincidence. Build a campfire using the building function while in camp. Okay, so this is the campfire. We've got lots of different buildings available in the near future, but now we'll just do the campfire. Congratulations, you've beaten this annoying tutorial. You can now start your first expedition, or not, do as you wish. Click anywhere to complete the tutorial. Okay, so at the moment our expedition menu is very limited. We haven't got any other options, so we'll just click to start. This path, everything is wrong, but I remember. It looks like a completely different place, and it's empty again. Do my actions have any meaning? Like I have a choice. If I need to give up and cry to save the world, I am the worst saviour of all. Let's do it. Okay, so we're into our first actual expedition. We'll find the sign. I think I'm actually just gonna let me just pause for a second. I'm just gonna disable the camera for a sec, just because I think no matter where I put it at the moment, it's gonna be in the way of something. Unless I might be able to pop it over here. I don't think anything pops down there, but it does. I'll just have to do it again. Okay, let's get back started. Okay, so we're just going to go through the first few fights. Okay, so we've had a few items pop out. So we've got the meadow, that heals 2 HP at the start of each day. We're going to want to get those down so that we can get some HP back from these. And I think we're going to want to put these next to rocks. So let's pop these in here, like so. And then we'll have another rock here, probably another rock there. And then, where are we? Where should we put a grove? We'll have a couple of groves. So this grove says that wolves can move to adjacent tiles, so this could technically fill all 3 of these. So I think we'll put the next one here, and then all 6 of these tiles could potentially have a rat wolf on them. I have had a little look at this game, mainly just first episode stuff, just so that I didn't spoil too much. Yeah, so I've only seen some very basic synergies, I haven't seen too much. Okay, so we're going to equip this armour just to increase our max HP by 87, so you can see we've jumped up to 340. I think we can speed up for a bit. Okay, so we've got 2 new cards to have a look at. Oh, that's interesting. So, yeah, by being next to a rock, these become blooming meadows, and that means that they heal 3 HP instead of 2, which is quite interesting. Okay, so we've got a spider cocoon here as well. Now, it may seem strange to be building a game, and this is one of the reasons it's kind of like very counterintuitive, because you're actually building the monsters that go onto your own path. Which is, I mean, a few games have used this kind of dynamic before, but it is relatively new. Again, this can spawn onto the tiles around it, and it does so once a day rather than once a loop, which means that it can spawn multiple spiders by the time you get back around to it, depending on the length of the loop. So we want to place that where it can touch as many tiles as possible. We'll also equip the shield that we found, and that's giving us 4 defense. Okay. And so I think the reason that it's strange is because there is, at least later on, there are features which you, basically your kind of meta progression is based on leveling up, gaining perks, and getting to higher tiers of loot quicker so that you get ahead of the loot levels. And so eventually building structures which generate enemies become no longer just something to make the loot more interesting, they're actually really important to make it progress as quickly as possible. So let's get back to it. Okay. Okay, so we've got a ring. We can either get 2 defense or 4 attack speed. I think we'll go for attack speed there. And this is slightly better. Something that I do really love about this equipment system is that whatever you can replace, whichever slots that you can replace with the item you're hovering on, it shows you them at the top, so you don't have to keep switching between them. You can compare them, seeing both on the screen at the same time, so that's really handy. Okay, so you can see that as we walk through the grove, we're picking up sort of shards of resources, I think they're called, and you need to collect a certain amount of those before they turn into an actual resource. So let's carry on. Okay, so we've got a couple of new things here. So firstly we've got the mountain. So this gives plus 5 HP for each adjacent rock or mountain. So we want to make sure that's next to as many rocks and mountains as possible. So what we'll do is we'll place that here. And you can see our max HP jumps up by 7 because this is giving us 2 for being next to an extra mountain, and this is giving us +5 for being next to the rock. You can also see that our HP per day has jumped up by 1 because we've just bloomed that meadow. And we're just going to pop that meadow down there. We've also got a beacon, which is a worthless landmark in a world with no direction. So it gives 40% movement speed within its range, and also gives a 20% attack speed for all units, which includes us, and also includes enemies, obviously. So there's a couple of things to think about with this. So if days are passing at a set rate, which they always are, at least for the moment, they will always stay at a consistent rate. It will take you a certain amount of time, a certain amount of days to get around this loop. So if we were to place a beacon into the map and make it so that we get around a section of it 40% quicker, then what that means is that the amount of days it takes to get around the loop is reduced. What that would mean in terms of, say, the spider cocoon, for instance, would be that because it takes less days to complete the loop, the spider cocoons would actually spawn less spiders per time you go around the loop. So weirdly, the actual beacon itself is not actually. It depends on how many spiders you actually want to spawn. So what you could do is have spiders spawning a lot early on, and then use the beacon to make them spawn less later, because you're completing loops quicker. I think we'll place one down just so that we can see the effect of it, because to be honest, this first run is mainly just learning the mechanics more than anything. So we'll carry on battling for a bit. Okay, so we've got ourselves another meadow. We will put that down just here, and that will keep increasing our HP per day. Okay, so we've got a new weapon. In fact, we've got our only weapon at the moment. So we'll get that equipped. Should help us to kill enemies a bit quicker. Okay, so you can see here that this new weapon has got vampirism, which is a new feature, which means that 9% of any damage we deal will be healed to us. Not that effective early on, but later on it will be very useful to us. Okay, so we now have a couple of new items to look through. We didn't actually look at Oblivion actually, so a bit of the Elix magic causes anything to be totally forgotten. So it erases any established tiles and also erases monsters from the road. So if we were to use that here, it would just destroy that slime, and if we were to use it here, it could destroy the beacon we just put down. Next we have the cemetery, a place for the dead and for some of the living occasionally. Spawns a skeleton every 3 days. So again, that's something that would be affected by the beacon, because you can loop faster than they spawn. Depending on how many beacons you have, you may be able to loop faster than they can spawn. So the treasury. The thick walls guard all kinds of riches from thieves and previous owners. It gives a random resource after placing anything on an adjacent tile, but can't be built adjacent to anything, so it has to be built in an open space. So you can see here that it would, sort of cause us problems with what we're trying to build over here. That being said, because we know we are going to be building in this space, we can plop it down just outside of this 3x3 of rocks we're attempting to build, and that will get filled up, at least in part, by what we're trying to build already. And also, because we've got our 3x3 of rocks here, we can plop down a meadow, and that will start to fill it up. We'll get down the cemetery. I think we'll put that down next to the camp, because that's a good thing to kill just after we've been healed. And let's carry on. Okay, so we've got a new shield, but it does exactly the same. Okay, so I'm actually going to turn that off. I was experimenting with this. So you've got the option to automatically pause at the end of the loop, but I think we'll know if we need to pause, so that shouldn't be a problem. Okay, so we have a new ring. Looks to be similar to the one we've already got, so that's fine. Okay, so we have got a couple of new items as well. So we've got another grove. We'll keep the same theory here, and try and fill as many slots as possible with something. We've also got another spider cocoon, and again we'll place that where it has access to multiple tiles. Okay, let's plonk down this cemetery here. We'll also place this other meadow and another mountain. So we've got a new card here, so Vampire Mansion. Hungry eyes follow your every move through the holes in the roof. Adds vampires to battles on adjacent tiles. So the Vampire Mansion is an off-road tile, so it has to stand next to the tile, and you can see the area that sits around it here, similar to the beacon. But on this one, any battle which occurs within that area will have a vampire added to the battle. I think we are going to want to fight a few vampires, so I think we'll try and add it to these grapple fights. Carry on. Okay, we've got ourselves another beacon, which I think is quite efficient to place there. That'll speed us up. This should allow us to kind of hit through the days a bit quicker. Okay, so you can see here the only difference is more HP, so we'll switch that over. Bug off, human. Vampire? Where are your lands? If your farmers need help, I would be glad to offer it. No more lands, no more flock. Only hundreds of years of emptiness. And hundreds of years of hunger! Save yourself while you still can. I don't know how long I will be able to keep my head straight. What 100 years are you talking about? Your mind is easy to trick, but you can't trick my hunger. It demands its share. Every sip, every drop of blood will go to satiate it. I'm too weak, but you can help me, and I will set this crumbled world right. Right, I'm doing this not just for myself, but for everyone, in the name of good. So be grateful for my hard work, and just let me bleed you dry. We are now fighting vampires. So you can see there we've got a much upgraded sword. When you hover over items on the right hand side, by the way, it does give you an automatic pause, so we can actually upgrade our damage in the middle of this fight. The one thing I would say though is that we do lose vampirism from this, but with such small damage it really doesn't matter. Okay. Vampires often owned our lands, they kept the peace and helped our settlements to prosper. But this won't do at all. Now they are just pale shadows of their former selves, both physically and mentally. Apparently, the blood of other creatures can't sustain them. He wasn't joking about the hunger. Even the creatures that stand near him are imbued with the power to devour someone else's life. So that's in reference to the fact that whenever a vampire is on the field, all of the other creatures around him also gain a small amount of vampirism. Okay, so let's get some more of these rocks down. And also some more meadows. Thank God the vampire's not talking anymore, so I don't have to attempt that Transylvanian accent much more. Okay, we'll get some more of these down. We'll add another vampire mansion here, I think. So now all of the fights along here will have vampires. And we'll also place another beacon. There'll be some crossover there. Be interesting to see whether this stacks and whether these are now 40 and then 40% again. So we'll see what happens, see if it speeds up again. Okay, so we've now got a weapon that's got lower damage but a higher damage to all, which is quite interesting. I suppose when we're fighting against multiple opponents, that's actually more damage, but I think we'll leave it the way it is for now. We will add this shield though, as it will give us extra defense, regen, and also some magic damage. Magic damage is sort of like a fixed damage that gets added on. So at the moment we're doing 10 to 16 damage, and with this we would be doing 12 to 18. So we'll get that added in. Okay, so one of the things that we do need to always be considering in this game is sustain. So obviously with the fact that this is technically an infinite game, you do have to have some sort of sustain to be able to keep yourself going around the loop. Sustain comes in the form of regen, in terms of adding HP per day, and also vampirism, the healing effect. When that healing effect, when that sustain falls behind the amount of monsters that you put out on the field, you do have to retreat. And trying to find the perfect time to retreat, knowing when you're going to lose the next battle, is the best way to make sure that you keep all of the resources that you manage to collect. Okay, so we've got our first... oh no, we did actually already have a rare item. Okay, so this is a much lower damage weapon, but it does come with 7% counter and 6% evasion. So that is obviously your chance to hit back when you get hit, and also your chance to evade a strike in total. I will leave that off for now, simply because it's going to lower our damage down a bit too much, but we will be looking to add those in the future. Okay, so we get another identical weapon, so not much point in changing, but we do get another spider cocoon, which we'll add in over here, and we've also got another uplifting area as well. Okay, so we've got another vampire mansion. I'm not entirely sure we need another one, but we will chuck down another spider cocoon. I'm just wondering whether we should maybe add one over here, maybe somewhere, just to catch a few of these spiders with a vampire. Yeah, I think we'll do that. Vampires give much better loot, and I think they're, by the looks of it, their loot has a better chance to give vampirism equipment. There you go. You can see at the moment we're actually one shot. Oh, that was a mistake. Didn't need to do that. I don't think there's an undo. But yeah, it was just a misclick. Okay, so another day passes, we get a little bit of healing back. Okay, so here's another new card. So we've got the battlefield. It smells of blood and steel. Spawns a chest at the start of each loop, but enemies on adjacent tiles can become ghosts. Sorry about that, I have a bit of a cough at the moment. Okay, so yeah, so we've got the battlefield. So it can cause enemies on adjacent tiles to become ghosts. Ghosts are very weak. They spawn when you kill another enemy, so that's not too much of a problem. And as we're just about to start a new loop, we're going to throw that down here, and we'll have a chest on one of those two spaces. So you can see here the chest has spawned into this battle. Okay, so we've got a couple of really good new items. So we've got a ring that comes with magic damage, attack speed, regen and vampirism. and we've also got one that comes with 13% evasion and also 0.6 regen. I think this one's definitely better for us. The regen and the vampirism are going to give us much better sustain, so I think that's probably the best one to go for at the moment, even though this one's slightly higher level. That is a really good evasion, but I think our build at the moment should be based on sustain rather than evasion. I mean, evasion is technically a form of sustain, but you have to really focus on it to get it going. And yeah, I think we'll stay away from evasion. We'll try and focus on regen and vampirism for this run. Okay, we're going to do a quick pause, just because I think this armor will be an upgrade. So we've got magic damage +4, damage to all of 2, and regen per second of 1.2. So one of the things to take into consideration about regen, for instance, if we're using beacons, then regen per second means that speeding up the map makes regen worse. So beacons actually make regen worse. So ideally we want to focus on vampirism if we're using beacons, and that's the reason that we won't be equipping this ring instead. Okay, so we've got another fight with vampires involved, so we're doing pretty well on that front. Okay, so we've got another treasury. Because we're going to be filling in these spaces anyway to finish off this treasury, it makes sense to put another one here. I think this is going to be a common theme of how you see treasuries placed, and it's always a good idea to keep one side of your treasury clear for as long as you possibly can, just to ensure that you know, sort of there's no you don't block off the potential to place another one. To be honest, I don't think we're going to survive until Loop 4. I think it's probably risky to go that far. I might be wrong, but we'll see what we can do. Grove-wise, I think we can pop that up in this corner just to get some spawns over here. Okay, so that is an obvious choice to upgrade, so we'll pop that on. So we're actually doing quite well for attack speed as well. We've got an attack speed boost of 8%, so that's really good. Okay, nice. So we're about to see our first true synergy. So we're going to pop a rock into here, and as you can see, there's now a 3x3 section of rock. And as we place that into place, you can see it gives us 120 HP just for existing, and gives +5 HP for every adjacent mountain or rock tile. So this is essentially just a really big mountain tile, a mountain P. However, what it also does is spawns a harpy every 2 days, which is, you know, sort of a bit of a disadvantage, but the harpies are also really good for loot, so killing them really helps. I believe the harpies spawn completely randomly. They can be anywhere on the map, so that's going to be interesting to see, and you'll see that spawn shortly. Okay, so one of the dynamics with meadows is that as long as they're placed next to something other than themselves, so a rock or a mountain or the treasury, then they will turn into the blooming meadow. But if they're exclusively only next to meadows, then they will not bloom. So what we want to do is make it so that these tiles which would have non-blooming meadows have meadows that will bloom. And we can do that by placing a rock either side here, and then the ones above and below will be able to bloom. Okay, we've got a slightly better vampirism ring there, but we would lose attack speed and regen. I don't think 3% vampirism is going to make that much of a difference this early, so I think we'll leave it as is for now. So we've got this armour. It doesn't give us as much max HP, but it does give us counter, regen and vampirism, so I think we'll get that added on for now. We have got another battlefield. Now, something that's interesting about battlefields, if you place two of them next to one another, you'll see here that this ground here becomes a blood path. So blood path, not only ghosts are created on the battlefields, this spawns a blood clot every 4 days. So that's an extra synergy if you have these two close enough to each other. So we'll see that spawn hopefully soon. You can see there we did a counter attack, so the Rat Wolf attacked us and we counter attacked and hit him straight back. Same just happened with the vampire. Okay, so we have ourselves a new shield. So this gives us 14 defense, that takes away our regen per second. I think as a net gain, the fact that we aren't losing the 6 health in the first place is going to be massively beneficial. So defense is very similar to magic damage. It's a flat kind of minus away from the damage that you would take. So if an enemy would do you 20 damage, you will instead take 6 with 14 defense. You can see our defense at the moment is just at 14, so the shield is the only thing providing it at the moment. Okay, we've got a new excuse me. We've got a new ring to look at. So this one gives us magic damage, damage to wall, counter and vampirism, but all in lower degrees, so I think we'll skip that one. Stop! Where did these goblins come from? I don't remember remembering you.
We remembered ourselves. Now, give us all you've got.
You have no idea what's going on, right? Why don't you help me restore order in this world first, and then you can do anything you want?
Goblin must rob. No other order in the world.
Fair enough. Guess I don't have any valid objection here. Oh, wait, I do have one. How about... It's strange how these creatures appeared here on their own. Maybe it means everything is actually not so bad, and that the world is trying to restore itself. Or that even the apocalypse isn't enough to get rid of some of these pests. Okay, so we've got a few new items. We'll plant a rock down here, and also we can't get it next to the road, unfortunately. But we'll place one here just so that we've got 4 spots for meadows if we want to use them. So we've got a new item here, which is the road lantern, a small spot of light in this grim world. It decreases the maximum number of monsters on the adjacent tiles, and the effect of lanterns can actually stack. We didn't actually check to see whether or not these two's crossover was actually increasing the speed, so we'll have to have a look at that. So, one of the things that I do want to do, so we'll find out shortly that this camp tile is actually where the boss spawns as well. And when the boss spawns, it will bring some buildings with it, so we're just going to pop these down here just to block off some of the potential places for those to spawn. You can also see our first harpy is heading down from the mountain somewhere on the map. We go to Meadow Place. Carry on fighting our way through the map. So, we are actually starting to fall a little bit behind. So even though our HP is quite high, we are about to jump to the next map segment. And the enemies are about to get harder. And I'm pretty sure that this next loop is probably going to be our last one. So we'll have a look. but I think it probably will be. So we've got plus attack speed, so we get 8% attack speed by equipping this, but we would lose 2% vampirism and 0.6 regen per second, as well as 2 magic damage, so we're losing a lot of sustain, and I don't think we can do that. We've also got some chests coming up, so there's going to be some good items in there, hopefully. So you can see there, this skeleton is starting to hit quite hard. Let's have a look at these items. Oh. We'll pause after this battle, I think, once we've got all of our chests opened up. Okay. So, we're going to pop down the road lantern again here to block off another space. I'm going to plant the mountain down here to block off that one. And let's have a look through this equipment. So we've got a better sword that also provides vampirism, so that one's a no-brainer. This one gives us counter, evasion and vampirism, only a 1% drop on the vampirism. And it also gives us 2 defense, so I think that one's a pretty safe bet to go in. We've got a shield that gives us slightly less defense but more vampirism. Again, even less defense, but also gives us some evasion and some vampirism and some attack speed. I think we're going to focus on this one. This will take us up to 33% vampirism, still with a relatively high defense, and hopefully that should be enough to get us through this loop. So you can see there we're now gaining more health than we're actually losing because of vampirism, so that's doing us really well, and this trend's still continuing, so I think we are actually really safe for this run through. I think chances are we're not going to fall behind by much. We'll pause there, let's have a look at this. So this one gives us a massive boost to defense, so it'll take 5 off every attack, but because we're losing 12% vampirism and only gaining a little bit of attack speed, I think we're safe to leave that one behind. We'll also get this grove placed. We'll place it here because that covers 2 spaces that aren't currently spawning anything. Okay, that's great, that's given us plenty of tiles to place, and it does mean that we can actually finish off this treasury here. We're not going to do that at the moment because we are in a nice kind of comfortable position. I think it's actually safer to leave this treasury and pop it at a time that suits us, and these treasuries will give you loot based on the loop that you're on. And because of that, it makes a lot of sense to leave it until after you go into the next loop, if you can afford to do so. If we start to get into trouble throughout this map, if we get any sort of big groups of enemies that start to give us trouble, we might consider popping the treasury, but I think we should be safe to carry on until the end of this loop. Right, so we've got a couple of new items to look through. Okay, so we've got a lower damage weapon that gives us 12 counter and 6% vampirism. I think our vampirism is currently relying on the fact that we're doing so much damage, so I think we'll leave that there for now. We've got some more mountains to place. I think everything here is sorted apart from the fact that we just need 2 more road tiles here, so let's actually do that while I think about it. Okay, so now this section around where the boss spawns is now completely covered, which you'll see why that's important later. Okay, but let's start placing down a few more rocks and mountains, and make sure to get as much max HP efficiency out of those as possible. Okay, so we've got our first battle against 4 enemies. You can see here our HP is dropping quite rapidly because there were so many enemies. But as the enemies start to drop lower, you can see our HP recovery is actually taking over and starting to recover some health. So that's good. As we go into these fights with smaller amounts of enemies, we should actually start recovering, as you can see, HP even when we're fighting. So. So we have got a massive HP boost from some of these, but okay, pause there because we have got some new items to look at. So that's just pure attack speed. So that gives us slightly less vampirism, slightly less defense, and a little bit of regen, which I don't think is worth swapping. That lifts up our vampirism, drops our counter, swaps evasion for regen. No, I don't think that's any better at all. No. What do you mean, no? You want to save the world. You want to ask for help. Our answer is no. How did you... But... What? No. We see far away. We see deep inside. For a long time there has been just emptiness instead of the sky, but it doesn't stop us from seeing. Your saving of the world is one-sided and naive. Each person sees their own way of saving the world. That's why no one will ever join you. Fine. I don't fully understand it, but tell me your version. What does to save the world mean to you? My progeny and my kin, for them to be strong and to live. It's a part of the cycle of life and death. It is life itself. It is the world. I will kill you and feed on your remains to my starving younglings, and life will go on. And how many lives does your blade give birth to by killing again and again? Only one. I don't want you or your children to die from starvation. Please try to see reason. If my mission succeeds, Harpies can have all the sky and all the hunting grounds they need. I can't feed my children with your beautiful words. It's time to say goodbye. Okay, here we go, our first Harpy fight. I feel awful. By fixing one evil, I'm becoming a source of another. There's no home for Harpies except the highest mountains, but there's no food there. I can't imagine how they managed to survive if their mountains were cut from reality. Okay, kill this guy, and then we'll get some of these placed. Okay, so this area is all blocked up, which is good. So we can just carry on placing rocks and mountains down here. You can see here, these are bandit camps, goblin camps. These spawn for every 10 mountain and rock tiles, and it also spawns a goblin, as those that you can see there, and that is once a day. So obviously this is one of the examples where these can be really, really troublesome, and beacons help to alleviate that somewhat. Because it can help you to get around before too many of them spawn. Unfortunately, we haven't reached that point just yet. But one thing I will do is start to beacon up some of the spaces that aren't marked off. So that's one location, and this one. So you can now see the entire map is now covered in beacons, and that means that we are doing laps 40% quicker the entire run round. It does look like there's no change between the crossover. Okay, this road lantern is actually really useful. So because road lanterns reduce the maximum number of monsters, it means that if there's already 4 on a tile, then we can eliminate one of them and reduce them down. Okay, we're just going to pop a battlefield down here just to get an extra chest on each lap. Keep on placing mountains. We'll also get a cemetery placed here because no monsters there at the moment. Okay, we'll pop down another spider cocoon over here. We'll keep this meadow as that can help us to unlock those treasuries. We'll see how we do against these goblins. I think that will determine whether or not I will be popping the treasuries at the moment. Because the goblins can be quite hard to defeat. They do a lot of damage and they attack very quickly. And they also have this enrage ability. So every time one of their allies dies, they get plus 30% damage. Well, it does seem that we're okay. It looks like our sustain is good enough. Okay, so this gives us attack speed, regen per second, and vampirism at the same level. It just changes from defense to a magic damage of 4. So the regen per second going up is a little bit more sustain. I actually think that the evasion and counter is going to be of more benefit to us than a bit of attack speed and a bit of regen. So I think we'll leave that there for now. I'm pretty confident as well that we'll be good enough to get round to the next cycle. We've got another treasury. I think it's very unlikely that we'll be able to pop this open, but we'll place it here so it's as close to other synergies as it can be. We'll start placing them in positions where they can do this. Let's just check that. We've already checked that ring. I think we've got enough vampires for now, so we'll just carry on building. Okay, so we're coming up to our final fight before the camp. I think we are actually going to be pretty much full health after the camp, so... Okay, so you can see our chests have respawned. It seems that this one hasn't spawned a chest, because the road lantern is actually stopping it from spawning it. It's a bit of a shame, actually, this spider cocoon is actually damaging us, so I think we'll actually get rid of that. Just to make sure that if we do another loop, this can spawn a chest for us. So. Okay, so we're going to have our first experience with a new enemy in a second. Okay, so just the damage of this skeleton, the fact that it can now do us 27 damage with a defense of 14, says that we're going to need some new equipment, so I think we'll pop the treasures this round. Settings money. So this is another new enemy, so this is the Blood Clot, and it's quite a powerful enemy actually. It does 25 damage. As you can see, it's a hell of a lot more than the spiders. It's also got a lot more health as well. So. As you can see though, it does give quite a lot of equipment back in return. So. We'll actually open this chest first. We'll make sure we're in planning mode. Okay, so we've got some new armour, but I don't think it's. I mean, it's got a lot of max HP on it. Sorry about that. Yeah, so it's got a lot of max HP on it, but we'd lose our vampirism, and I'd much rather have sustain than a high max HP. Okay, so let's place down a meadow here, and let's unlock the 2 treasuries. Okay, so you can see we've got lots of resources, a few cards, and also loads of items to have a look through. Okay, so we have a new shield. It comes with 1.8 regen per second, 2 defense, and 11 defense, so a total of 13 defense. It does look pretty good. Unfortunately, it's only one more defense than the item we currently have, and we would lose our vampirism, so we're not going to be swapping that. Another shield, again losing vampirism, comes with 4 more defense than we currently have and 2 magic damage, but again we won't be swapping out our sustain. This weapon does slightly less damage. In fact, actually it does more damage. It does 18 to 24 because of its magic damage, and also does 2 damage short, so that would be a big increase to our damage, but we would lose 8% vampirism. So the question is it more than an 8% increase? I don't know if that's actually the way to work it out. Okay, so 8% vampirism is about a quarter of the vampirism we have at the moment. So that means that it would need to increase damage by 33% before it was beneficial. And 18 to 24, that is not a 33% increase in damage, so I don't think that's worth it. I know that there's damage to all involved in that as well, but the percentage that you get from damage to all, I don't think that would go towards vampirism. Might be wrong there. Let's have a look at this one. Okay, so this one's got a defense of 11, counter of 7, magic damage of 2, and a slightly reduced vampirism. So we're gaining 2 damage and losing 4% vampirism, but we're also gaining plus 7% counter. I think that probably is worth it, because if we're countering more often, that's more times to trigger vampirism, and it's only a 4% drop. So I think we'll take that one. But the rest of the equipment, unfortunately, we can't use. What that says to me is that we haven't increased our equipment particularly well, which means we are going to struggle this round. So what I'll do is I'll fill in these gaps on the treasury as quickly as possible, which we can actually do now. See if we can get any better equipment. Okay, so that is actually much better for us. Comes with a lot of vampirism. We're up to 37%. Okay, so we could gain another 5% vampirism, but we would lose evasion and counter. We would also gain 5 more damage. So we can either go all in on vampirism and get half of our damage back. Yeah, it is essentially half of our damage back, because we'd be at 49%. And also increase our damage by 4. I think that's probably the safest way to go. Oh, sorry, it's 42%, sorry. We're not quite at half. But 42% is a large chunk. Let's just see what happens in this next battle. Because we have got other rings that we could equip. Okay, so we're taking a hell of a lot of damage there. And the vampirism isn't even close to making up for the amount of damage we're taking. Probably because of the harpy mainly, because the harpies do a lot of damage. Let's just add to our HP per day healing. It might have just been that that was, you know, sort of a really tough fight. Okay, 2.4 regen per second. Is that going to be better than 8% vampirism? I don't think it is. Let's stick with the vampirism. If it's wrong, we can always... Okay, so he's got a damage of 46. Yeah, our vampirism isn't even close to making up for the damage that we're taking. At least not against the skeletons. I think they're scaling a lot faster than we are. Against these guys, though, we do seem to be doing okay. Seem to be actually gaining health back. I think we should be okay with these spiders for now. See how we do. see that against single foes we are actually doing okay. It's only against multiple foes that we seem to be struggling. But unfortunately, I do think we are coming to the end of our this loop on how long we can survive. Let's place down some more rocks and meadows to get some more resources. Can go there. Okay, so we have now spawned the boss. That is another reason why, unfortunately, this is going to be over. I don't think we're going to be strong enough to fight the lick, and we would lose a lot of resources if we were to stay out now. I'll try and increase our sustain as much as possible to see how well we do. But I get the feeling there's going to be a fight that shows us that we are soon to die. If it hasn't already, that is. Okay, so 14% vampirism versus 3 regen per second. Let's calculate that out. So 14% vampirism. So 14% vampirism. If we do, so let's just pause for a second. So we're healing between 11 and 14, and of that, 14%. So it's a third. So a third of 15 is being contributed to by this. We are hitting, because of the beacons, we are hitting a lot faster. Is it once a second though? No. So do we think that that would actually be better for us to have 3 regen a second? Let's try it out. I think we're not long for this world anyway. So I think either way, both the vampirism. Let's have a look. Oh god, got a better vampirism sword. Well, that's an obvious equipment because it's just a free upgrade. Okay. We have another half. Let's do 28 damage. We have got 14 credits though, so. We're forgetting to put stuff down. Let's get all of these down as quick as we can. Another beacon, why not? Okay, so we've got a couple of easy fights coming up. So let's see how much we can heal before then. Yeah, I think that one thing I've completely forgotten that I actually mentioned earlier is the fact that our regen per day has been hampered by the fact that we're going so quickly around the laps. So it actually damages us to take regen over vampirism. So if we get the opportunity to switch back to vampirism, I think we will do. Okay, so that's a lot more damage but no vamp. Okay, so that's a lot more attack speed but no vampirism. That's a much higher defense value. We'll lose 8% vampirism. Okay, we've got nothing more to place that will give us any free resources. And we're coming up to a fight that will probably kill us. I don't know, we're at half health. See how we do against this skeleton. That keeps our vampirism, increases our counter, and increases our defense. That's a safe upgrade. Right, let's see how we do against this. I get the feeling this might kill us. It's right on the very edge. Okay, yeah, that was pretty close to killing us. Those are all already bloomed, so I don't need to do anything with those. I think either way we're quitting before the boss, so I don't want to take a risk. There's no way we're going to kill this boss. After all of this, we have virtually no healing in the lead up. We don't have much chance to gain any more items. So unless we find some spectacular equipment from this spider fight, I think we'll be evacuating before the goblins. Okay, unfortunately we didn't get anything. I mean, we're coming to the end of the day. How much are we going to get? 77 HP. So we'll be going in with exactly 500 against 3 goblins. Might give us 2 more fights. That's a lot of resources to lose. I think we're going to go pretty safe. I think we've got to the point where we know we're going to die at some point. We're not going to finish the boss. So I think I'll go safe, and we'll return to camp from here. Ooh, so we'd only keep 60% if we don't get back to the camp. Maybe we should have quit on the last loop then. Whoops. Let's go for one more. If we die here, I'll be very upset. Okay, so we are managing to sustain through that fight. We can definitely fight this slime. We managed to get away from that harpy, luckily. Okay, so we've got no new fancy equipment. We're back up to almost 500, and we managed to fight against 3 goblins, so I think we're safe on this one. I just want to see if there's any effect of getting further around the loop. Okay, that's a pretty good sustain weapon and a damage increase, so we'll take that. Okay, nothing particularly good there. That's a damage increase, but we lose our vampirism. Okay, we're safe against 1 rat wolf. We know that for certain. Okay. Can we take on 4 spiders? Spiders' damage is low, and we have got quite a high defense. Okay, I think we should be fine to fight against these spiders. Let's do it. We'll go straight back into planning stage after this battle. We can kill these quite quickly, so that's one good thing. Regen is kind of making up for the damage, but I am more than aware that the lick will be doing a lot more damage than the spiders will, so... Okay, so we can get a much higher HP, more damage, and we can get a vampirism back, so... Right, if we retreat now, okay, we're still at 60%. Okay, so that gives us regen, more counter, less magic damage, less vampirism. Okay, we have 39 instead of 43% vampirism. 5 magic damage, which would be 22 to 30. Our regen would go up to 2.4. And that counts for 21%. Okay, there's nothing else we want to add here. Okay, so this has got... I think, is that a harpy? Yeah, so we've got a harpy and 2 rat wolves. We're at over half HP. I think we can handle this one. Oh, there's only 1 rat wolf. Okay. I don't think that one had spawned yet. We can definitely take on this. Okay. We have survived our way to the Lick battle. Put down the treasury. We have the place completely surrounded. Ah, right, okay. Because we've made it to the Lick, we can keep all of our resources. This is a tough decision. If we fight the Lick and lose, we lose pretty much everything. We get 10%. And I have seen the Lick, and I know he is no joke. So, we have a damage of 31. HP is currently at 507. Pretty sure he does about 70 or 80 damage per hit, maybe a bit more. And with a defense of only 15, he's going to kill us before we kill him. I think it's safe to retreat. But I think that was a really successful first run. I can't believe it! Hey everybody, the boy has managed to return! Survivors? Does this mean I'm not alone anymore? Where did you come from? Is there still a place without darkness? We don't know where he came from, or we can't remember. These people you see are only a small part of what's left of the group, I think. You're not sure? We're not sure. We reached that conclusion because of the abandoned luggage and leftover daily rations. With each day, new signs of presence of people that... With each day, new signs of presence of people that, as far as everyone here knows, have never even been with us. It's like we forgot them. You forgot? Exactly. It's like people disappear every day, and we instantly forget that they ever existed. Almost as if we forgot the place we came from, and our families, and maybe even ourselves. My name is Yoder. That's the part I still remember. Nobody else's memory is in much better shape. That's why I remember so little about myself. Everything is forgotten. But wait, you said that I'd managed to return. That means you remembered I was here. Yes? Yes. Yes, that's... Oh god, I've lost the accent. I've completely lost the accent. I was going for Bristol, but it didn't come out. Yes, that's why it's so important to us. We saw you leave, but you were gone before we could approach you. That's a little bit better. Yeah, that's why it's so important to us. We saw you leave, but you were gone before we could approach you. Listen, we can't wander around in this emptiness anymore. There's a campfire and a few sleeping bags here. A real luxury in these dark times. What do you say? Oh, of course. I'd be very grateful if we could team up. I want to restore everything. I've begun to remember the world as it was before. But there's no point to it without other people. It's too lonely without them. Remembering the world? I don't understand what you're talking about. I'm too exhausted. But we'd be glad if you could help us, and we'd be glad to help you. Just don't ask us to go with you. I don't know how you managed to return, but for us, leaving the group is too dangerous. I will ask no such thing of you. For now, I just want to have a place to return to. place where I can hear other people's voices. We weren't joking about helping you. Here are a few things that survive the cataclysm and don't vanish away. Can't be forgotten. Take them. You might need them. Okay, so we have the camp and we have initial resources that came through. And as you can see, the expedition map has now expanded, but we'll have a look at that in our next episode. And now let's just have a look at what is available to build. So we have a field kitchen, and we do actually have enough resources to build the herbalist hut as well, so we can build both of these two items. The one thing that we can't build at the moment, unfortunately, is the smithy. This lets you start with basic gear, and unlocks the ability to craft tools for the camp if the supply depot is built. Unfortunately, that's quite a long way away. So, what does the herb? Let's get the herbalist hut built, and then we'll have a look at what it does.
It's a miracle that we could find some fertile soil, and that we were able to save some seeds of precious healing herbs.
What the real miracle? No, I've lost it again. Completely lost it. I shouldn't try to do voices, I really shouldn't. What the real miracle is that all these healing poultices and balms still have any effect.
We've already lost many people because of the cataclysm. It would be nice not to lose more to disease. And these potions can also help you. Take a bottle or two on your trip, and your chances of getting back unharmed will be much higher.
Might have to try that one again. Okay, so we'll get the field kitchen built as well. Not entirely sure placement matters on those.
Do you know the difference between a good cook and a bad cook? The food made by a good cook is tastier. What? You were waiting for something more elaborate? Sometimes the truth is very simple. Look, I have a cauldron, a hearth, a couple of knives, a bucket of potatoes, 3 onions, and some ham. Nothing special. Everything is very simple. But give me a few minutes, and everyone in this camp will be running to my table, following the tasty smell of a good stew.
Okay, so we now have the field kitchen and the herbalist's hut. So in the herbalist's hut, the hands of the herbalist always remember how to mix dried herbs and brew healing potions. Potions heal for 4% of max HP. You can take 3 potions with you, and 2 potions are refilled at the camp. So those will be available to us in our next room. It also unlocks the swamp card for use. The other building that we've got is the field kitchen. A very important place for any camp. If your nose isn't lying, there is good food here. It adds 10% to the campfire's healing power, so this is now up to 30%, and also unlocks the blood grove card. Okay, so that exhausts all of the options that we've got as of this particular one. We can see a couple of new buttons, which is to upgrade and dismantle a building, and you can see here, unfortunately, we don't have enough to upgrade, and also the same for this one. I don't believe it will now. So we can add an extra 8% to the campfire's healing power if we were to upgrade this building. But for now, that is going to be the end of the episode. I hope you really enjoyed this first look at Loop Hero, and look forward to another episode soon. Thank you very much for watching. See you later.